The President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. We would like now to hand over to counsel for Mr. Kilsampon to put questions to Mr. Rojamton. You may now proceed. Counsel Kong Som-on. Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors. Very good afternoon, Mr. Rojamton. I am Kong Som-on with my colleague representing Mr. Kilsampon. I have a few questions to put to you, and you should respond to the questions according to your best recollection of the events. The questions are as follows. In the hearing, you already stated that Mr. Kilsampon told you about gathering the forces, and you referred to the front forces. Can you explain the term front to us? Response. Front is not what I know very well to explain, but I heard of this on radio broadcasts, and the text, it was known as the National United Front of Cambodia. So far, I had read some documents on this. That's what I understood from my reading and listening to the radio broadcast. Question: could you confirm when you read the documents? Where? Response: I had read the Revolutionary Flag and Revolutionary Youth magazines, and also the front flag that were printed into documents. Question: what you read, were the writing the writing by Mr. Kilsampon in those magazines, as you indicated? Response: I read the documents that once were broadcast on radio. Question: Mr. President, with your leave, I would like a document E3/24 to be put up on the screen. The President, you may now proceed. Counsel, I would like to refer to page ERN in Khmer 00204068, English ERN 0022 3580 French ERN 00 503920. With Mr. President's leave, I would like the document to be put up on the screen, please. The President, you may proceed. Court officer is now instructed to point the relevant portion the counsel wishes to question the witness. Counsel, this may assist the witness with my highlight and the portion that were highlighted. Counsel, Mr. Witness, could you read the portion that have been highlighted? I may read for you for the record. Question. You said that the forces were gathered without any classification, and you said groups were gathered without any classification, and all forces of the front were gathered by the groups belong to Samdai, and in the country it was Khieu Samphan. Khieu Samphan, Hu Yun, Hu Nam, and Paj inside the country had the work of the front. I would like you to confirm or to clarify with regard to the statement that you said that there was no class distinction made at all. What do you mean by no class distinction? Response. This means that all walks of life had been gathered to join the force, and I believe that all forces, those who were the sympathizers, who would like to join the front, we gather them all. So whoever wished to join or could come together would then be gathered, and there is no discrimination against any class, because we needed to gather all people to form the National United Front of Cambodia. Counsel, thank you for your response. I would like you to explain to us further on the gathering of forces. Was this the policy of the FUNK, or it was that of the Communist Party of Cambodia? Response. I understand that that was the policy of the party. Counsel. Thank you. Could you also clarify the policy in assessing the classes, for example, peasant and worker classes? Response. According to the document, I stated from that they refer to the peasant and workers classes as the core forces for the gathering of the forces. And that was the objective of the CPK. Counsel, could you also elaborate further on this? What does it mean to refer to the peasant and worker class as the core forces? Response. According to the document I read at a later date, I understand that in the resistance movement, we needed peasant and worker classes because they were treated as the owners of in the authority. We had to rely heavily on these forces. Counsel, could you also explain to us whether there were any other classes apart from the peasant and worker classes? Response. I don't recall whether there were any other classes. There were some classes including the petty bourgeoisie in which students were grouped in that classification, and also the intellectual class. If compared to the peasant and worker classes, these two groups of people were better educated and had better knowledge of the social issues. Question. Have you ever heard of a class by the name feudalist class, imperialist class? Response. I also read some documents on this. There were classes including the capitalist class and feudalist class. And they even used the term reactionary group of people in the document. Counsel, thank you. I would like to go back a little bit to my early question. Do you still remember the policy in the classification of the classes in Cambodia before 1975? Response. Prior to 1975, I still have some understanding of this. After the coup d'etat, the National United Front of Cambodia was established, and I started to understand better on this. Council, thank you. Were you aware that, or were you aware of the treatment by the CPK toward other classes apart from the peasant and worker classes? I mean the capitalist or the feudalist classes. Response. The term, the gathering of forces to form the National United Front of Cambodia was written in the document, and it was a genuine and consistent effort to gather forces during those years. This expression was time and again stated in meetings. Every meeting, people would be talking about gathering forces, and it was a large-scale gathering of forces. People from the feudalist class were also gathered to join the forces, and there was no intention to do any harm to this class. The gathering of forces went smoothly without any problem all the way to 1975. Council, thank you. You said that the people from the feudalist class would also be gathered, but how could that happen? Response. Practically, people who were capable and being flexible enough with the resistance, they could assist us at the rural areas, or they could also work at various ministries and in other offices where their service was needed. So we could use them as well. Council, thank you. We would like you to refer to ERN in the same document. ERN in Khmer 0022. Rather in English 0022 3585. French ERN 00503926. You may refer to the highlighted section of the text. There was a question on this about the arrest. How about Koi Thun's arrest? And you said there was just the matter of Koi Thun's immorality. Ieng Seri did mention that in a meeting, but he did not explain any reasons aside from the immorality. Have you read that? Response, yes, I have. Council, my apologies. I think I need to proceed with my question first. Do you confirm that this is your statement? Response: Yes, I do. It is my statement. I did say so. Question: You said about the arrest of Khoi Thuon. Have you mistaken, or is that the correct statement? Response: No, I'm not mistaken. Question: Mr. President, with your leave, I would like document the transcript of the hearing dated on the 30th of July 2012. On page 67, line 14 to 16. The President, you appear to have mistaken the date of the transcript. You said 2002, but indeed it's 2012. Counsel: Yes, indeed, Mr. President, it's 2012 transcript. Counsel, can you read the text on the screen? Are you response? Are you referring to lines 14 to 16? Counsel, could you read out loud the text on those lines? Response. Question. Thank you. How about Khoi Thuon's arrest? Response. With regard to Mr. Khoi Thuon, after the fall of Phnom Penh, he was in charge of a ministry. I couldn't read more because there was no more text to read. Counsel, it's the foreign ministry, foreign commerce ministry. Response continues. Then he disappeared. I don't know what happened. Counsel, I note that the terms disappeared and arrested appear to be used interchangeably. So which term would you pick? Response. I would prefer the term the arrest. Counsel, thank you. So this means that you now correct your statement you made on the 30th of July 2012, and now you accept the statement you once gave before the co-investigating judges. Is that fair to say? Response, yes. Council, thank you. I would like now to ask you a question concerning your study sessions at the Soviet Technical School. Do you still recall your statement concerning this point? Response: Yes, I do. I did say that. Question: According to your recollection, where is the Soviet Technical School? Response: It was located on the boulevard to Pochentong Airport. It was on the right-hand side of the road. Question: Do you still recall what the Soviet Technical School was used for? Response: No, I don't. I just heard from others who said about this, and I just repeated what they said. Question: In the transcript on the 25th of July 2012, at 14 hours 29 minutes 17 seconds, you said you studied there. Do you still stand by your statement? Response: Yes, I do. Question: This means that you went to that location during the Democratic Cambodia regime. Is that correct? Response: Yes, it is.
Question: Why you just replied just that you didn't know what the place was used for? Response: Your question was, before I went to study there, what the school was used for, and what it was called. And I replied, I went to study there, but prior to that I did not know what it was used for. That is the Soviet Technical School, but I did study there. Thank you. My question to you was that, what was the Soviet Technical School used for during Democratic Cambodia, besides what you studied there? To your recollection, do you know other purposes for the use of that school during that period? Response: I went to study there for one time only, and I did not know what it was used for later on or prior to my study. Thank you. How many days did you study there? Response: It was a short study sessions. It's about a few days. Question: can you tell the court what did you study there? Response: at that time, Kirsampon was the presenter. The subject matters were the same as what I studied previously. Question: to your recollection, can you tell us about the subject matters that you were taught? Response: he made the representation regarding the situation inside and outside the country and the situation after the liberation. And besides that, he talked about the socialist revolution. He also made a presentation regarding the revolutionary life view. And after that, it was the closure of the study session. Question: can you recall who were the other attendees in that study session? Response: I cannot recall all. There were about 40 of us altogether. Thank you. Those who went to study with you, what kind of people were they? Were they cadres or were they combatants? What were they? Response: they were the group who were supposed to work at Office 870 and at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as well. There were both the cadres who would be designated to those respective offices as well as the combatants. Question: where did they come from? Response: it was those who came to live in Phnom Penh. Question: who came to live in Phnom Penh? Response: there were male and female combatants, soldiers, the transport personnel. They would be used to work in the Office 870 and Office B1 respectively. Question: can you tell us the content and the times of the study sessions? Rather, you know the time and the date of the study session, but how come you cannot recall any one of the people who joined that study session? Response: I cannot recall their names. Because after that, we all spread out to different ways, and I do not know how many died and how many survived. Thank you. I'd like you to tell us regarding one issue. You stated that Khieu Samphan was at his residence prior to 1975 in the liberated zone, that he had a small house and he kept writing in that house. That was your statement before this court. Can you recall that? Response: yes, I can recall that, and that's what I said. Questioned: you stated that Khieu Samphan, as you observed, was sitting and writing, but you did not know the content of what he wrote. You just saw him keep writing and writing. Did you observe any other activities or communication between Khieu Samphan and Pol Pot's group? Response: as I mentioned continuously, for example, at Office S71, sometimes they met together, that is Pol Pot, Nuon Chea and him. And some other times they met on several occasions. On other occasions, as I said, he had a small hut, a small bed, and a small table. And he wrote at that table. He was writing in Khmer in large volume. He also translated from that Khmer text into French. That's how I observed his activity. Thank you. Did you ever receive any order from Khieu Samphan to engage in any activity? Response: it seems that he never called me to do anything while we were in that jungle. Question: did you know the role of Khieu Samphan prior to 1975? Response: I knew that after the coup d'etat and after the organization of the FUNC, he was the commander-in-chief of the military. He also controlled the work of the front. I respected him and I adored him because it was great to have an intellectual living and working with us in the jungle. Thank you. can you tell us the difference between the funk and the grunk that you just mentioned? Response. As it was broadcast on the radio, that is outside or openly, it was in the form of the funk. At that time, the CPK was still a covered body. My apology. I'd like to ask you about the grunk, not about the CPK. If you can respond, please go ahead. President, witness, please wait. The prosecution, you may proceed.
Mr. President, I simply want to object to counsel interrupting the witness. If the witness wants to explain grunk and funk and its relation through a description of the role of the CPK, I think that's his right, but I don't think counsel should interrupt the witness at the very start of an answer like that.
Counsel, I put that question to the witness, Mr. President, but he did not respond to that question. That's why I intervened. President, could you put the question again to refresh the witness' memory? Thank you, Mr. President. I just asked you about the difference between the grunk and the funk. If you know, please tell the court. Response. While we were in the jungle, I was only interested in the funk, but I cannot recall about the grunk. Question. Does this mean that you cannot make the distinction between these two bodies? Response, yes. Thank you. I do not have any question for the witness. Thank you. And Mr. President, I'd like to see your leave for my international colleague to proceed with questioning. The President, yes, you may proceed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, good afternoon. My name is Arthur Verke, and I am one of the counsels representing Mr. Kyo Sampon. To begin, allow me to ask you a few questions with respect to your work as a bodyguard. Now, you've said in the stand that when you arrived at S-71, you worked as a messenger. And then you became Mr. Pol Pot's bodyguard. Now, my first question to you is the following. During the time that you served as Pol Pot's bodyguard in the jungle, were you the only person to ensure his security? Or were there other people who were also charged with that task?
When we were at S-71, I was not the only one. There were 80 of us coming from Ratanakiri province.
Ces 80
And were all those 80 people assigned, either on a rotational basis, to serve as Pol Pot's bodyguard? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
As far as you were concerned, were you given any extraordinary assignment relative to the 80 other bodyguards? Or did you enjoy the same status as the others?
In that office, in general, Pong was in charge. Also in that office, there were some other Khmer brothers, namely Sohong, who were there. And my direct superior, who was an ethnic person, Bong Kain, he was there as well. As for myself, from 1972, I also escorted Noon Chia for his long travel as well. And in between that period, I had a motorbike. In fact, as I knew how to ride motorbike, and they would assign me as a messenger to ferry letters and messages between zones and that office. That happened on the occasional basis.
Thank you very much, witness. Therefore, would it be accurate to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you were not assigned to any one specific leader at S71? You could have also been in charge of providing security for groups. You could have undertaken patrol during meetings, but you weren't given any special assignment to act as a bodyguard for any particular person.
Yes, that is correct.
With respect to the security missions that were bestowed to you and your colleagues during the time that you were in the jungle, during the time that you served at S71, did you ensure security only when the uncles or the leaders were traveling, or did you provide protection within the camp, within the perimeters of S71? Was your job to provide security only during the time that they were traveling, or also during the time that they were at S71?
As 71, as I stated, and my tasks varied depending on the period and the month. And I was not the only bodyguard. There were 80 of us. And of course, we did not have the sole duties of guarding or providing protection. We also engaged in building the houses and the school in that jungle. And on some other days, we were on guard duty.
Et quand vous montiez
And when you were on guard duty, were you providing security for the camp? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
et
And when you were on guard duty at the camp, what exactly were you protecting the camp from? What kind of risks were envisaged? What exactly were you protecting the camp from?
What we concerned was the enemy from outside. But the most concern was about the infiltrated agents or spies. That is, their activities within the office. Regarding the work of those
What do you mean by infiltrating agents? Were they people that you knew? Were they people who had been integrated into the camp? Were they people who were known by the leaders? Or people who were acting as double agents? Who exactly were these infiltrating agents?
Since we were in Ratanakiri, that was the way we conducted our business and provided protection. It is not that we were suspicious on this person or that person, but besides the group of 80, that is my group, we had to be vigilant on other people who came to contact or to communicate with those leaders. And that was our duty, our guard duty, to provide that kind of protection. That is, we had to be vigilant regarding other people, not within our designated group.
You've just stated that as far as Ratanakiri is concerned, was S71 located within Ratanakiri?
No, I just gave you an example regarding the status of the guarding duty. Office S71 was at Steng Trong district in Kampong Cham province. Let's make that clear.
merci, Monsieur le témoin.
Thank you very much, witness. And just to be abundantly clear, do you confirm that you began your activities as a bodyguard from the time that you arrived at S71?
our group gathered together since May 1970. That when we went to receive him from Kontoini or from the Dragon Tails Point, and we were acted as the bodyguard group, and there were 80 of us to provide the protection. And that how consistent we worked from there onward.
Therefore, am I to understand, based on your answer, that you were working as a bodyguard along with the 80 other people once you arrived at S-71?
Yes, that is correct.
Est-ce que
Witness, can you please tell this chamber how many people were assigned as bodyguards and who were working at S-71? How many people were simultaneously providing protection at S-71?
There were 70 of us who made the journey, and there was no other additional people, personnel joining us. There were only 70 of us.
je vais essayer de répéter.
Allow me to repeat the question, just to be perfectly clear. When you arrived at S-71 and you were put in charge of, or were you made to provide security at the camp, how many other people were also providing security services at that time? How many people were also effectuating the same job?
Let me clarify. During the day time, we divided the force. Some would be on guard duty, and another force would engage in labor, in cutting trees to build houses. And at night time, for example, within the group of 80 of us, we would divide ourselves into a group of 10. So there would be 8 groups designated to different spearhead or the target areas within the parameter throughout the night. So we would change the status of the guarding duty at night. Sometimes it will be in the form of an L letter or a 3 triangle letter for the protection measure.
Thank you for this clarification. Now, regarding the infiltrated agents, that is to say, people who could be suspected of being infiltrated agents, who were these people? Were these people who were known? Were these people who were visiting the camp, who were not well known? Were there certain rules, certain guidelines in the guarding of the camp for that?
Response. At S-71, we had no worry concerning security. We 100% secured because no outside forces could come in. And we had no problem with enemy suspicion, but we also had precautious method, like we had better preparation and prevention to stop this from happening. The President, thank you, Counsel. Could you advise the Chamber how much time would you need to put questions to this witness?
I don't think I will finish today, Mr. President.
The President then thank you. Mr. Rochampton, the Chamber has not yet heard the completion of your testimony. You are required to come back to the courtroom tomorrow by 9 a.m. Jury counsel is also advised to return to the courtroom at the same time. Court officer is now instructed to assist the witness and his jury counsel and ensure that they return to the courtroom by 9 a.m. The hearing for today is adjourned. The next session will be resumed by tomorrow at 9 a.m., which is on Thursday. During tomorrow's sessions, we continue hearing testimonies of Mr. Rochampton. Questions continue to be put by counsel for Mr. Kyusompon. And at the same time, for tomorrow's sessions, we are planned to hear the reserve witness, witness TCW 694. If Mr. Rochampton's testimony is concluded before lunch break, the Chamber will see if time fits to hear testimony of TCW 694, the questions that will be put by the co-prosecution. Security personnel are now instructed to bring all the 3 accused persons to the detention facility and have them return to the courtroom by 9 a.m. The court is adjourned.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ